Hello traders, welcome to the weekly Forex market overview with me, Pierre from PAFX. This week we don't have a live session, but as I promised guys, I said I'm gonna do a recording for you and show you what to expect next week and what trading opportunity we may have. So as usual guys, we're gonna roll the disclaimer because it's very important that every one of you read this disclaimer to understand the risk involved in trading, and that this session is only the way I see the market and it's not a signal in any way. Yeah, so please read it carefully, hit the pause button and read the whole text. And for the new of you here, if you're here for the first time, please do not forget to subscribe to this channel to get notification every time I do upload a video or every time I start a live session. If you like these weekly overview, please do not forget to hit the like button as well. And we do this session every week, every single Sunday. You get weekly market overview, and from time to time I do upload some tutorials as well. Yes, let's get started. And the first thing we look at as usual is what are the major news we have for the next week. And as you see, we have a lot of major news next week. Most of it is about Aussie, New Zealand and Sterling. So I think those are the three main currency you should be paying extra attention for. And of course we do have some news for the US dollar as well, but not as much as the rest. And on Monday we do have as well President Draghi's speech at 17 Eastern Europe time. Yes, let's start with the Dixie as usual. And I am on the weekly chart here, and the reason I am on the weekly chart is actually to show you where we are at right now. As you know, the dollar has been in a downtrend for a long time now, since we started this down move here in December 2016, and it was moving very fast to the downside. But now we did reach a possible level that may act as support. Looking at this structure here to the left, I am expecting that this previous resistance here, this triple top here, to act as possible support level. Now last week we had on Friday the NFP from for the USD, and it was actually very good numbers. This what I do especially like about it is the average hourly earnings that was 0.3%, which is good. And it's a very good indicator to look at, and all the rest of the number was good as well. So one may expect that the US dollar may get some strength here at this important level. But as you see guys, even on the daily we're still in a bearish trend with lower lows and lower highs all the way until we reach this area down here around the 88.50, where we do have a possible double bottom scenario right now. Yeah, well, this bullish divergence been going on for a while. Since this low here we start making some divergence, but we are talking about this low here. So as you see, we've been making lower lows and lower highs all the way down here anyway. So the major structure is not changed yet, even though we had good NFP. That will not change everything directly for one day. If we go down to the 4 hour, you see that even on the 4 hour we still have no new highs been really made yet. We didn't even break this previous high yet, as this very strong and bullish candle never closed above the last high. The close of this candle was just below the previous high, so even on the 4-hour we actually still in a possible downtrend, or at least a ranging market, as you see. So for this thing to be called as a possible reversal, we need to see much more than one bounce to the upside, because as you see here, we did have this bounce to the upside that didn't help much. And usually when we are heading toward NFP or a major news, we do see some consolidation as we have here before we get the real move. So I'm very, very interested for next week, and those good NFP numbers we should look at a possible scenario to make to probably make the US dollar give it a little bit push higher. And what we should be looking at, if we're gonna do something like this, break the highs here and retest them for a continuation. As for now, this level down here is still the major structure that we should be looking at as a strong support. And as far as it holding, we should keep buying from that level. If we got a retest down here, then we should try to buy the dollar and looking in the direction of the up move. As for now, none of that happened yet. We're still in a bearish trend, but I am looking for a possible reversal at this level, especially that we have this major structure here. At least a short term, at least a retest toward this previous structure here, a bounce here. Well, if this is gonna continue lower, then I think it need to make some correction higher before it continues lower. But since we're talking only for next week, that's why I am mentioning once again this level. And for a short-term bounce to the upside, we want to see at least these highs broken, retested, then continuation. Next problem area gonna be this level, and the best level would be a retest of this structure up here before we may see a continuation down. So long-term USD still a bearish market, but based on where we are right now, we may see some correction higher. Gold may as well help us to think that we may see some strength in the dollar, since we have this possible head and shoulder scenario here on gold. If we do something like this. So last week gold was not able to continue higher, which make this head here is our last high. The right shoulder, now we do have a clear lower high, our first sign of, let's call it sign of weakness. It still can be as a possible correction lower only. We're not talking a total reversal, but the thing that we never made a new high and we now have a lower high start make me start thinking that we may see some correction lower on gold, and that the Dixie is on a good support level that may give us this possible scenario to happen. On the 4-hour, it looks something like this. We still have this level down here, the 1327 is an important structure for the gold. So as far as this is holding, I don't think we're gonna see much more downside, but the range is for now the 1328, and actually I still see the 1344 as an important level, even though we got this possible fake out here. So the range on gold gonna be 13.28 or 27 toward 13.44. It is an important structure. Now, if that head and shoulders scenario we looked at on the daily gonna be confirmed, we want to see gold breaking below the 13.27 like this, give us a retest that failed to hold above this area, and then a continuation lower, and that continuation should have some trouble around the monthly S1 and these lows, and the best level for a continuation to the upside should be the 1300 once again, if we reach that level. If we go back to the daily, you see why this level an important level, and then we may have a continuation bounce from here. But in either way, if we break this area, this level should be your last take profit target. And as far as we're not breaking below this structure, this thing might do some consolidation or even continue higher. What we have so far, which may us start thinking that there is a possibility for a reversal, that we did break the this trend line to the upside. It seemed that it got retested and couldn't hold above this structure, it couldn't hold above the trend line again. We do have lower highs and lower lows so far, and we should be looking that this may break to next week. Yeah. US oil, we do have still a very strong bullish structure, but last week, as you see here, we had, this was our last high, we got a correction and a try to make a continuation that couldn't break a new high. So we do have also something similar to gold, possible head and shoulder scenario, but still structure is still a bullish one. On the 4 hour, we do have this low here that broke previous low, and lower high, and another lower high right here from last Friday. Yes, so there is some early signal that the uptrend may be slowing down, because this correction here, as you see, it was a very strong one to the downside. We never had such a correction earlier, and we should start be looking that there is a possibility that we may see some deeper correction on oil. But before we start shorting things, I think the monthly pivot point down here is an important level that you should be looking at, because this area here gonna be a very significant level for oil, and it should hold for continuation to the upside. Otherwise, if this got broken and retested, which gonna give you another lower high, then there is a possibility that we may reach to the outer trend line, which is still a trend line for the long-term move, which is a bullish continuation. Yeah, so these are the levels on oils that you should be looking at. For me, is the monthly pivot point. It's an important level that if oil to continue higher, that you may see a bounce here. But actually, for me now, when the oil at these levels, I think it needs some deeper correction down before a continuation higher. Palladium, this is something that we usually do not look at, but since I found this trade opportunity, and I did publish it to many of you guys on Telegram and Facebook, and I know that many of you did take the trade. That's why I have it on my watch list for this week, because I am in this trade as well. And we had a very good trade. Since we reached this level, let me go to the monthly chart and show you why I was interested. If we look left, this was like an all-time high since 1997 here, and this high was around it was December 2000, and we did reach this level. And since I saw the price reached this area, start getting interested, got even more interested when we had this blow off top here, broke above the previous high, and then I started watching this trade, and did publish the idea to, and many of you did take the trade. On the weekly, we had an inside bar here that worked well, and then we start following on the daily and the 4 hour after this very nice looking bearish day here, making this shooting star formation. We go down to the 4 hour and start following, and as you see on the 4 hour, the price start to coiling up and making this triangle here. And my confirmation came after the break of this minor trend line here, this break, the retest that fails, and my entry was based on this bearish, this black bearish engulfing candle here. That was my entry reason, and I took off some of my profit at the touch of this trend line, because I was thinking that this may act as a possible support. As for now, we did break the trend line, and seems like we are doing a possible retest. I was looking for Palladium to reach the 50%, where we do have this neckline, to probably add more and see if we're gonna break this trend line again and reach the outer trend line. So this is my idea for now. So we will keep following this next week. The 38.2 could be also a good level now, since we do have this high here that may act as a possible resistance as well. So this could be your first level to look at for shorting, and your best level would be the 50%, and this structure here looking left that may act as a possible resistance. Yeah. So very interesting, and I think this could be a very good long-term trade scenario, and we of course want to see the 1000 here got broken, which is good psychological level, and if that happens, then we may reach this outer trend line as well. Okay, so let's start with Forex, and the first pair is USDJPY, which is sitting right now at a good support level, where we do have the monthly S1 of February pivot points, and we do have a good structure to work with that may act as a good support. Very important level to look at early next week, because if this to hold, then we may get bounce back up toward the monthly R1 and toward these structure up here. As you see as well, this could be a double top scenario, but the neckline, sorry, still not broken. So if next week you get a break below the neckline, then you start looking for the retest and continuation lower, probably toward this major trend line to the upside. So if we go down to the 4 hour, you see it better. You want this structure to hold, and if not, if this structure got broken, we close below this low here, then you should be start looking for the retest that failed to break above again, and you can sell it back down toward this trend line. Aussie USD broke this major move to the upside, especially last Friday on the NFP news. We had this major candle. The week did start to the downside with some spikes ups and down, but this Friday candle was a very strong momentum candle that now broke below the monthly pivot point, and I am expecting this to continue lower toward the 0.78 area. This level down here should be our first trouble area, and we do have another level just below that at this area here before a possible continuation in the trend direction. As you see, this major trend line, 1, 2, 3 major lows, so this major trend line is actually confirmed here, and we may have now some correction lower before another bounce to the upside. So if we go down to the 4-hour, you see it clearly, a nice rounded top here. The neckline got broken, and it seems that it is possible that we reach toward these levels. I don't see much of structures on the way until we reach these areas down here. But of course, now after this extended move, we want to wait for a possible correction higher before sell it back down. Yeah, so for next week, you probably want to wait for some correction higher to sell this. If that happens, when you start seeing some up movement, then you can start drawing your Fibonacci levels to measure the correction. We don't know where this gonna end, so right now I can't draw a Fibonacci retracement yet. But if we, let's say that this was our last high, then of course last low, then of course we can start measure it from here. And it seems like the 38.2 and the 50 are the areas that we should be looking at for a possible short, if this is our last low. Yeah, so somewhere in this area is your kill zone, and even without a Fibonacci retracement, it should be this area, cause we don't want to see this high getting taken out, that the price close above it. If that does, then this down structure is violated. Okay, so anything below this previous high gonna give us another lower high, which means that we can keep shorting this possible reversal start here. But as you see, guys, on the 4-hour, the 20 moving average been acting as good dynamic support, and now I'm expecting it that if we're gonna retest of that line, which that it may act as a possible dynamic resistance and possibly continuation lower. So the monthly pivot point area is your level to watch for a possible shorting opportunity on this one. Chief JPY, many chiefs, Swiss pairs are at a good levels. Swiss pairs are very strong right now, but if we look at this structure here, let me go to the weekly. You see we reached a very important level up here, and we may continue higher, but I think that we may get as well some rejection before that. I'm expecting this to probably give us a retest of this broken neckline before a continuation. Now the trend line here, you see it clearly. It is acting as a good support so far, still in a up move here, not broken, and we're still moving higher. But since we did reach monthly R1 last week on Friday, as you see here, and this previous structure that the price got rejected at earlier, it seems to be a good supply level. As you see, the price left this area very strongly in the past. on Friday we got some rejection so far. That is not enough to call it a reversal, but it is still a possible signal. The thing is, this 4-hour candle could as well be profit taking, since this move started all the way up here. Could be profit taking for day trader and medium terms trader that maybe started the week going long and closing position here. So we should not see this as our best signal that we do have a bearish engulfing and go for that. I think for this to happen, we want to see it go a little bit lower. It's gonna go up maybe one more time, give you a retest, possible double top, and then you may try to short it toward the monthly pivot point, or this structure down here, which gonna be an important level, yeah, and that gonna be a counter trend trade, so be aware of that. Don't rush in this to short it. You want to wait for a clear signal first, but as for now, we do have a very important level that may hold as resistant so far for this time. Okay. Euro Aussie, also very strong move. As you see, last week was a very strong bullish week. We did reach a very important level as well. This is still in an uptrend, and we should be actually looking to keep buying it as far as we are holding above this trend line, as far as we are holding above the 20 moving average on the weekly. As you see, we do have higher highs and higher lows, broke above, retest, put another higher low, and seems to be making an effort for a continuation here. But since we did reach an important and possible resistant level here, we should be looking at that area as a possible counter trend scenario before a continuation. Yeah, so the price did break just above the monthly R2, which is an important high level, and I think we should be looking at the extreme highs next week and see how the price will react. The best scenario for this is, of course, to try to go long from the retest of the neckline here. If that happen next week, that you go long from these areas here, the deeper the better, and in an anticipation that we may break above these highs. But if you are a counter trend trader and you're looking for a possible reversal, of course this area up here is the level you should be looking at for your signals, since this move to the upside is now very extended, and I think there is a possibility that we may see something like this soon, or probably next week. Yeah, I think before this to continue higher, it need to make some correction lower at first. I wouldn't buy it here in any way. So the buy level should be down here, and this is up here is your possible sell area and a counter trend trade. Since we are at the extreme of this range, we have this high, and the low here is the lowest low. Yeah. Euro Chief, this wedge is now broken, as you probably saw earlier last week when we talked about it. Yeah, I've been talking about this wedge for a long time, and we got a very good move to the downside with very good shorting opportunities, and we had a really nice move. Now we reached this area that we expected it to hold as a possible support based on this structure here, and it did hold so far. But I think this strong move to the downside may continue lower, but that after probably after a correction higher. So what I'm looking at for next week is if Eurochief gonna reach this 50% retracement here, where we do have a very good structure to work with, and the 20 moving average on the daily that been acting as good dynamic support, that may act as dynamic resistance now, give us some confluence with the 50% retracement and the structure here. That would be the first level I'm looking at for a possible shorting opportunities in anticipation to reach these lows, and if that broken, that we may keep moving even lower. Okay, so that is the scenario for this pair. Of course, on the long term is still a strong up move, but you see this wedge most of the time. When this start happening, that is a signal that we may see some bearish movements in this pattern, yeah. And the divergence on the RSI was very, very clear during all that time, yeah. And this is on a weekly wedge, so that's why I think that we may see some more downside on this after a possible retest higher. EuroJPY is also in a very bullish structure. The thing is here that we do have previous structure, but they are very close to each other. As you see, it's like resistant, another resistant, a little bit higher, another resistance, and so on and so forth. I personally think that this may keep continuing higher, and that we have this area up here as a possible market objective, and that we should be looking for buys only on this pair so far. If we take a Fibonacci retracement for this whole move to the downside, you see that we now did break the 61.8, retested, and seem to continue. And as you see here, we did as well we had trouble at the 38.2, broke it. We had some trouble at the 50, that got as well broken, and we had some trouble at the 61.8, as you see here, and that is now broken. So I still think that this market may reach this high as a market objective now when we broke previous highs here. So if we go down to the daily, it is a clear range here. I think any retest toward the monthly pivot point and the structure down here could be a good level to try to take along in anticipation to reach back up toward the monthly R1. And that if you are a counter trend trader, you should be looking at this level as a possible level where we do have a bounce back to the downside. We do have the monthly R1. It is a narrow pivot range month, so R1 should maybe is not the strongest level here. I think R2 is much stronger this month, since we do have the R2 as well as this last structure here at the same level, yeah. So for me, R2 is much better level to short it from, since we now just broke these highs here. But there is a possibility for a short-term reversal here if you are a counter trend trader, at least toward these levels, or even better if we reach these lows down here, then to take along from the area. But those are the level that you should be watching. So counter trend traders, of course, you want to watch this area and look for a possible signal up here. Euro New Zealand, after we broke this channel, we found support here and start making another move of higher lows, as you see, and higher highs. And last week we did actually break above these highs here, making some kind of inverted head and shoulders. You can look at it like this, something like this, yeah. And this is the neckline that should be broken, and we got that breakout last week. So this may continue higher, and we should be looking for to buy the dips here. Of course, your last line of defense should be this possible trend line, and in anticipation to continue higher. On this particular time frame, the move is a little bit extended, not so much, but if we take a Fibonacci extension tool to target this possible move here, you see that we do have some more room to the upside. The 1.27 is at this area, and 1.618, which I like more, is near the structure up here, yeah. So for a continuation, trend continuation trade, we want to see a retest maybe toward this structure, this neckline, and try to take along from these areas, yeah. EURUSD, the pair of the pairs. Let's go to the monthly here and look at what we have so far. As you see, this whole move here, if we measure from this last high or this all-time high, I should say, back down to this low, we do have the 38.2 Fibonacci retracement. And if we do have measure our last swing to the downside, which is this high toward this low, you see that we do have the 61.8 at that same level, and we do have the yearly R1 level down here. As you see, as a pivot point, it is an important pivot since it is a yearly pivot. At that same level, we do have the monthly R1 of February. So this structure here is interesting structure. That is almost the same structure that we looked at on the Dixie. So on the daily, we're still in an uptrend, of course. Even on the 4-hour, we're still in an uptrend, but we start getting some little signals that we may see a bounce, a correction, call it whatever you want. We do have still have some bearish divergence on the RSI since this high here. We are at the extremes. The diversion has started. We do have this nice pin bar still, and there is a possibility that we may seeing a possible double top, but it is very early to talk about a clear reversal yet. I am more for the sell from these levels. Another divergence on the 4-hour, as you see here. So and with those good NFP numbers, there is a possibility that we may see a deeper correction. Now we do have this little trend line here that we can work with. We do have the 20 moving average that acting as support to have as a filter, that you may want to wait to see a break of the moving average, and that the retest does not break back above it as it happened here, that the retest failed to break above the moving average or failed to break above the trend line, and then give you a signal for a possible shorting opportunities. Your first target should be the monthly R1. This structure is an important structure, and if that broken, then 1.217 is another area of trouble, and so on, even lower if we reach these levels down here. This should be the first good level of a possible long opportunities from these levels down here. The pair is in a very strong uptrend, as you see, and I see this area as not tested yet. That may act as support, but short term I am expecting some correction lower on EURUSD, probably next week, based on those good NFP numbers coming from the USA. Sterling Aussie, also very good movement to the upside. Now last week we did break this last high, and seems that the market objective is to reach these extreme highs at least. We do have the monthly R1 here that got tested on Friday, and still there is some momentum in this move. Of course, as far as we are making new highs, I think there's no idea to go against that, and that this area up here could be your possible target if you have a long. If you want to join the movement to the upside, your first buying opportunity should be this structure down here as a possible level to go long in anticipation to break these highs and probably reach the extreme high up here. Okay, so now this structure here is expected to act as a possible support. Sterling Chief did also make a very strong move to the downside the last couple of weeks. Now it did break below this trend line. It was a perfect break, retest, and a continuation. So when I'm talking about a possible retest that fails, guys, this is a perfect textbook example about it. You want to see the trend line broken. You want to see the retest fail to go back above, close above the trend line, as it happens here. It was a clear failure and a continuation. This is on the daily, that this pin bar was a clear rejection of the retest of the trend line. On the 4 hour, you see it even better. Very strong move that fails to break, and rejection. All that happening at the trend line, at the monthly pivot point, a fake out of the 20 moving average, and a continuation lower. Yeah, so I'm expecting this to move toward monthly S2 at least, or even lower toward S1, or even lower toward S2 as well. For that to happen, if you are holding a short, you want to see, of course, this previous low broken, and if that happens, then as you see, there is much room to the downside. So any correction higher next week, I will try to sell it, especially if we get a deeper one toward the monthly pivot point again. That would be the best level, but I think the first area should be around this level here, and then continuation. This is the first level to sell. This is your last level to try a sell from. Sterling JPY still moving higher. You see it clearly. We are in a uptrend. We broke above this range. We did a retest, failed to break and hold below the range. Another good example of how a failed retest looked like. It went back all the way up, closed outside of the range, and did a continuation. Yeah, I think this is also a good level to work with. If we got another retest to the top of the box, where we do have the monthly pivot point, that you try to buy it from here in anticipation to reach the highs or the monthly R1. I'm not looking for something else on this one. The trend is clearly an uptrend, and the best way is of course to try to trade with the trend. Now you can argue that there is a possibility of reversal here, but even though if you are holding a short, I think monthly pivot point and this structure up here should be your target, and I will be looking for a possible long opportunity from this level down here. Yeah, something like this. If we reach this area, to try to go long from that level here. Short term, if you go down to lower time frames and you want to work your way down with this one here, it is an easy structure. The 1 hour time frame, as you see, the trend, this short term trend is broken, retested. We are trading back below the 20 moving average. So if you want to play this on this particular time frame, you see we do have lower lows and lower highs, and you can try to sell these bounce to the upside back down here. So there is a possibility for both upside and downside movement, and of course if you take a Fibonacci retracement tool, you see it even better, that the 61.8 of this particular move to the upside comes at the monthly pivot point and near this very important structure. Yeah, your first trouble area should be the 38.2 if you are holding a short on this one, that we may see a bounce from here as well. Sterling USD, very extended move to the upside, did trade outside of the channel. If we look left, you see that we reached the Brexit levels, and one could start looking for a possible reversal here based on this strong move to the upside. Now we do have a possible double bottom, double top with some divergence on the RSI. The structure is not changed yet. We still have a bullish structure with our first lower low here, looking at this, our first lower high, looking at this structure here. Last Friday was a very strong candle, bearish engulfing in an area that we do have a possible double top and a bearish divergence on the RSI that make us start looking for a possible continuation lower. On the 4 hour time frame, a lower high here, a lower low here, another lower high, and for this to be more sure to the downside, you want to see the price goes below the monthly pivot point, below this previous structure, break this neckline, give you a retest, then possibly continuation toward monthly S1. Even if that happened, this structure could be and should be still seeing as a possible bullish market, of course, as you see here. And usually when we get such a very strong movement to the upside, we may see some consolidation. So I'm not sure that we may see a very strong movement to the downside. We may see some sideways market going down in a slow and boring way. So it's up to the market to show us what will happen next week, but I am very interested if this will continue lower, if we're gonna break below the monthly pivot point, as I said, because at first for next week I think that this area here may give you at least a short-term bounce. This area here should be defended by the bulls as first, but are they really willing to take this all the way, continue higher from this extreme high, or will they let the bears to win this short battle back down here before gathering more strengths and defend the monthly S1 in anticipation to take this to another higher place? Okay. New Zealand USD, very interesting structure now. We still in a up market on the daily, since this last low is not broken, is still considered as a bullish structure. But we should not forget about this rejection here on the daily. Very strong signal that this level is defended, as it happened here in the past. Was a strongly defended, gave this whole move to the downside. It did happen here, and last Friday after the NFP number we got this major bearish candle. We never saw such a bearish candle earlier. We never saw such a rejection earlier if we look at this whole move to the upside. So based on these two candles, it is a very strong signal to me that there is a possibility that this may reverse and give us a deeper correction. But if you are holding a short, you want to watch this level where we do have the monthly pivot and this previous low here. This need to be broken if you want to hold this for a longer term. You want to see this broken, probably retested on a lower time frame, then that we may keep heading lower. Yeah. As a Fibonacci levels, we can actually measure this whole move here now, since we do have our last high here, and start looking at the possible Fibonacci levels. We do have the 38, which I like to look at, especially in a strong going market, and our 50 comes also as a possible sorry, let me take off this one, as a possible structure. But of course the 61.8 is my most favorite one, comes as well as a structure, and this neckline here is like the last level to defend. So as you see, the plan is, if this continue lower, break below monthly pivot, retest of the neckline, fails to hold above, then that means that we do have a possible continuation lowers toward monthly S1 or probably lower. Yeah, so keep an eye on that. You see the divergence on the RSI is also very, very clear. So very, very interesting chart for next week. USDCAD kept crawling lower until we got the NFP numbers, and that daily candle or the major candle. But still we are in a downtrend here. No major highs was taking out, and I'm thinking something like this on the 4 hour. We are now trading back above this neckline, back above the monthly pivot point, and that if this to continue higher, we probably want to see a correction down that probably hold around this neckline. The best level, the best scenario, sorry, would be that this hold already at this structure here, that we don't break that, and give us another bounce back above this important structure here. Then there is a possibility that we may test higher. So very interesting. Last Friday we do have some highs got broken, but still there is much to go for this to give you a real reversal. So you can try to buy the dips now based on that strong bullish day on last Friday, yes, but do expect that we do have some troubles on the way. The best scenario would be if we do retest this neckline here, this structure never got retested, yeah, that would be the ultimate high, then probably another bounce lower toward the extreme lows here, but that is longer term. And why I'm saying that we may test these lows, as you see, we broke below this structure, we broke below this structure, we keep making major lows. That's why I'm thinking that we may keep heading lower after a retest of this major structure up here, yeah. And if we take a Fibonacci retracement tool for the whole move as well, you see that 61.8 is at that structure, and the 38.2, which may act as a possible resistance, is at the monthly R1 and this previous structure up here, yeah. USDJPY is at an important level at the moment, since we do have the monthly pivot point and we do have this previous low here. But of course it was moving higher since it did touch the low of this extreme range now we have had for a while going on. As you see, this range I'm talking about. So where this pair is testing right now is an important level. As you see, if we go down to the 4 hour, you see it better. The trend is still a downtrend, but now we did actually break above this neckline here, and we're meeting some resistance at the monthly pivot point and this previous structure, yeah. So we still have this range going on now. I still see that the 108.50 is an important level to go long from, and that we may see some rejection here. The deeper the better, and try to go long. As far as we are trading above this structure here, it is still a long, but if that got broken, as you see, there is a lots of room to the downside. So I am expecting this area to be well defended. We did have a fake out to the downside and went all the way back up from these structures here. But as you see here on the daily, our major swing lower high is all the way up here around the 111.50. So that is the most important level in this chart. Actually, if this will continue higher toward the top of this range, this structure up here is the most important level, yeah. But good momentum to the upside, expecting maybe some correction lower, and another bounce to the upside is possible to happen, since we had the gold chart seems to be willing to go down. We don't know yet. The NFP numbers looking good, so there is some fundamentals behind that. We may see continuation higher, yeah. And the last chart, Bitcoins, guys. As I said last week, if the area here to be broken, that we may test the 7,800 before we get a bounce, and exactly that level did hold. As I said, we got the retest of the 9K now, and if this to continue lower, then where the price is testing right now is an important resistant level for a continuation, yeah. As for now, we got some rejection at this area back below the 9,000, which is an important level, yeah. So keep an eye on this structure. If Bitcoin to hold back above, you want to see this high got broken, retest, and then a continuation higher is possible. I think it is a market in fear right now, and that we may keep going lower. Once again, now we do have this structure to act as a possible support, and for more downside you want to see this structure broken. If that happened, then we're gonna move very fast toward the 5K areas. So if we got a break of this low here, then the 5,000 is in the reach. As you look left, there is no structure before we reach that level. around the 6,000 area. Yeah, so very clear chart. The trend is clearly to the downside no matter how you draw your trend lines, and we keep making lower lows and lower highs so far. Short term we do have a higher high here, but the down momentum is still strong. You should see this level down here, 7,800 or 7,700 as a possible support level. If you're holding a short, then you should keep an eye on this area if it's gonna get broken or not. Yeah, and that was the last pair for today, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Once again, if you do like these sessions, please do hit the like button, and hopefully see you next Sunday, but live as usual. Yeah, thanks for watching, and see you soon. Bye bye.